Hi there folks, welcome to my second video on AFSPA. We shall now move on to the circumstances under which AFSPA can be imposed and the rationale behind promulgating this act. First, let's have the look at the when, the reasons for the act and when it can be imposed. The articles in the Constitution of India empower the state governments to declare a state of emergency due to one or more of the following reasons. 1. Failure of the administration and the police to tackle local issues. 2. The scale of unrest or instability in the state is too large for local forces to handle. In such cases, it is the prerogative of the state government to call for central help. In most cases, for example during elections, when the local police may be stretched too thin to simultaneously handle day-to-day tasks, the central government obliges by sending in the BSF and the CRPF. Remember, such cases do not come under the purview of AFSPA. AFSPA is enacted only when a state or part of it is declared a disturbed area. Continued unrest, like in the case of militancy and insurgency, and especially when borders are threatened, are situations where AFSPA is resorted to. Why? The why to legitimize role of army in civilian setting. You see, the army is designed and structured for fighting external enemies of the nation. They are not given any police powers whatsoever. However, when the nation wants the army to conduct counter-insurgency and counter-terrorist operations, they must be given the legal authority to conduct their operations. This is where and why AFSPA comes to bear, to legitimize the presence and acts of armed forces in emergency situations, which have been deemed warlike by the state government. Now let's have a look at the rationale for the act. When the army was first employed on counter-insurgency tasks in Nagaland in the 1950s, two aspects came to the fore immediately. First, unlike in the case of maintenance of law and order, when the army is called out in aid to civil authority, where time is available to employ the police before committing the army, operations against insurgents are entirely of a different category altogether, because the insurgents, the extremists, do not give any time for such niceties. The insurgents we are fighting today are heavily armed, they act speedily, commit heinous crimes and disappear. Unless the army counters such actions with speed and not wait from orders from higher civil or military authorities, nothing would be achieved. Secondly, the soldiers and officers of the army had to be protected from prosecution for consequential action taken against insurgents, because they have done so in good faith as part of their operations. The Act does contain the important caveat that army personnel can be prosecuted with the centre's sanction if their actions so warrant it. There is therefore no blanket immunity from the laws of the land. On the other hand, the state police has not been made capable of tackling emergency, of tackling an emergency situation of insurgency. The army has no desire to get embroiled in counterinsurgency tasks. It is not the army's job. However, despite over 50 years of insurgency in our country, the state police as well as the central police forces have not been made capable of tackling insurgency. Consequently, in each case, the army was inducted to carry out counterinsurgency or terrorist operations. So, let us always remember, it is not the army which has some hidden interest in carrying on with the provisions of AFSPA. It is an administrative measure which has been implemented by the government for safeguarding the internal security requirements of the country. Both its implementation and its removal. Now, this is very important. The implementation and removal of AFSPA are the sole prerogative of the central government. Well, that's it from me on this, the second of my videos of AFSPA. In my next video on AFSPA, I shall deal with the powers available under AFSPA and how an area is declared as disturbed by the government. As usual, I do hope that the points I have given you are more than enough to build your 250 to 350 word answer. Remember, the UPSC examiners are pretty strict about the word limit. So always read the instructions on number of words before you start writing your answer. Till then, stay cheerful and do remember to like and subscribe to my channel so that you do not miss out on my future videos. In case you have any doubts or you want additional videos, do remember to drop me a line at sumitacademy20@gmail.com or do drop me a comment below this video. Cheers.